This is Johnny Bluestar. I assist Dr. Rodier, MD, who hosts the Integrative Hermetic Health Show. In the last two shows, we discussed the phenomena of Medicare for All, often commenting on the deficiencies of the healthcare system we are seeking to make available to everyone. In our case, only to those who really want it. Now, the type of medicine Dr. Rodier practices is called integrative medicine. As an MD specializing in nutrition and gastrointestinal conditions, Dr. Rodier, like others in integrative medicine, does not close his mind to the value of many other types of health practices, including chiropractic, naturopathy, acupuncture, and herbal medicine. We're now working on a proposal which we call MEDICARE Perfected, which takes into consideration the problem of passing on a healthcare system for the sake of making cost-effective medical services available to everyone, but which leaves out one critical factor. As we have discussed in many of our programs, the healthcare system in the United States is broken. More widely publicized current Medicare for All proposals do not truly address the powerfully negative consequences of having medical practices controlled by Big Pharma, the current medical establishment in the United States, and insurance companies. Here is a fascinating account of the difficulties of this prevailing control of healthcare by Dr. Michael Farley, a naturopathic practitioner.
Dr. Farley, you work for the government. What, in your opinion, can our health freedom be turned around when it comes to the pharmaceutical industry and the FDA and the American Medical Association, and your knowledge of how some of those things work? Will we ever be able to go down another path, and will that other path ever become mainstream?
In Australia, they realized that allopathic medicine was not curing the diseases. And Australia passed a compassionate law. Their law stated that if nothing exists in this country that will successfully treat this disease, as long as it does no harm, you can import it and bring it into the country to try to treat the disease. I don't think the United States is even going to go that far. I have grave reservations about the overpowering control of big pharmaceutical companies. I've seen what it does to doctors in other countries that attempt to use any alternatives to their medicine. Mm-hmm. They have a very, very long reach. They have a very, very long memory. And they have an awful lot of influence because they contribute tremendous amounts of money to campaigns. So show me candidates that will never take any pharmaceutical money. Show me an FDA that will never allow a pharmaceutical representative on the board to make decisions on what can come out as a medicine. And then I'll say possibly, but I don't see that as a possibility now. One of my closest friends many, many years ago worked for the FDA. Prior to that, he worked at Fort Detrick in biological warfare. When Fort Detrick signed off and the treaties were signed, no more biological warfare, he went to work for the FDA. His specific job was to determine what could be used in meats that we were going to eat. Can you inject them with hormones to make them fatter and grow faster? Every doctor that he worked with, and I saw the stack of papers, it was over 18 inches high, had done the research, said absolutely not, because that will be retained in the meat and taken in by the human consumer. It was overruled. Can we use GMO foods? All the scientists looked at all the science and said absolutely not. Overruled. So the doctors that really know medicine are not making the decisions on what medicine should come out. The pharmaceutical industries are. And as long as they're influencing the politicians, I don't see any other direction the United States can go. We need leadership to keep our freedoms. And as I said before, I honestly believe it's a constitutional issue. the right to life issue. We should have that right to choose. But when I was first licensed as a naturopath, it was in North Carolina. It's now a felony to practice naturopathy in North Carolina. Was it due to some huge influx of lawsuits against naturopaths? No. Was it because they were being successful? Yes. A naturopath set up one of the best laboratories in the country to actually determine whether you have a healthy immune system or not, and then sold it. And I think it was within 2 years of her selling it, or a few years of her selling that they made it a felony to practice. Now, why would you make something that's been shown to be more successful than allopathic medicine a felony to practice, if not to protect the pharmaceutical industry? And superiority, back in 1918, in the flu pandemic, they had several naturopathic colleges and hospitals, and they had several allopathic colleges and hospitals. The mortality rate during that flu pandemic in 1918 in allopathic hospitals was 26.7%. More than 1 out of every 4 of those people died from the flu. The mortality rate for the naturopathic hospitals was 1%. And if you had your choice, where would you go?
Although it is only fair to be skeptical of the success of a far-reaching proposal like the one Dr. Rodier and I are contemplating, we feel that documenting and discussing Medicare Perfected will, at the very least, be another step in the effort to awaken the American people to the state of healthcare in this country. And who knows, given the growing skepticism about healthcare in the United States, maybe something can happen faster than we expect.